Welcome back to Startups Discipleship. This is track 1, and we are currently in week 3 of our practical teachings. We've developed a mission statement and some vision statements, and this week we're going to look at another method of determining direction for our lives that we call roles and goals. Roles and goals. Defining roles and goals is something that I do every year. A pastor friend of ours taught us this simple format to understanding God's direction and vision for the next season years ago, and it's been so helpful to me that I've done it every year ever since. So let's dive in and learn how to define our roles and goals. First off, set aside time to be alone with God. Usually in the fall, around October, November, I try to take time to get away with the Lord. It doesn't necessarily have to be a retreat to a secluded place, though if that helps you focus and connect with God, then by all means go for it. But getting away with God may be as simple as a scheduled downtime to just sit and listen. Jesus would often sneak away from the crowds to be with the Father. He didn't need to go on a scheduled 3-day weekend on the shores of the Sea of Galilee or a week-long getaway to a cabin on Mount Carmel. He would just head off to an olive garden. Because if you're going to spend time in prayer, you need unlimited soup, salad, and breadsticks, right? Okay, but really, he would go somewhere to be alone. He'd find a quiet space where he could tune out the world and tune into God. For me, this is most often our church sanctuary or even our prayer room, which has become more of a chair room. But I do know that many people prefer to get away, far from all of the distractions, and spend a few days to a week preparing for the next season. And that's the key. Get away to be alone with God. Now let's be clear. I am not talking about spending a few minutes in a prayer closet or even a few hours, but an extended time set aside to hear from God. And this is really the first step in defining our roles and goals, giving God the time and space to speak and to really hash things out. Next up, you're going to define what roles you play in life. Start off with a brainstorming session. Get a pad of paper, a sketchbook, or even a mobile device, and start listing every role that you can possibly think of that you play in your life. It's important to allow your mind to push past the staple answers, as you may come up with some creative roles that you wouldn't have even thought up initially. For me, those roles might be child of God, husband, father, son, brother, uncle, pastor, friend, disciple maker, CEO, boss, mentor, mentee, family provider, chauffeur, skateboarding coach, art teacher, musician, music teacher, worshiper, prophet, apostle, prayer warrior, leader, on and on and on. I could just list roles that I play within my workplace, within my neighborhood, and within my family. Be extensive and put your own flavor to it. One of my favorite things to do is to listen to the way that people title their roles. While some people might have the role of dad, Pastor Terry might call that Papa. Someone else might say father, but for me personally, it's Daddy-O. It's been a long-running gag in my family, but it puts a personal spin on a generic title. It reminds me to have fun with my kids and to embarrass them at every opportunity I can. Because the title's not Daddy-O, it's Daddy-Yo, and that always embarrasses them. But you get the point. It's not the role itself, it's the personal touch that defines what this role means to me. So make the roles personal. Once you have an exhaustive list, pray. Ask God, which roles should I really focus on for this next year? I like to whittle my lists down to roughly 5 roles, give or take. Just like with the mission statement and the vision statements, I like to keep things simple and memorable. 5 roles is simple enough for me to remember. So then what you're going to do is prioritize those roles. For my personal roles, first and foremost, I am a child of God. If I don't get that one thing down, I am nothing in this life. Then I'm a husband. Then I'm Daddy-O. After my family roles comes the work stuff like I'm an equipper of leaders and then a pastor at the sound. 5 roles. Once my roles are defined and prioritized, the next step is again to pray and to ask God, what are the goals for each of these roles this year? These can be abstract concepts or concrete, quantifiable mile markers. If your role is a fiancé, an abstract goal may be to develop and nurture trust in the relationship, right? That's an abstract concept. Another goal may be to tie the knot this year. That's a concrete checkable box. Either way, come up with a few goals, 2 or 3 for each role. You don't want to overburden yourself with too much to do, so again, keep things simple and spend time praying these goals out. Many people rush through these steps, and it's really unfortunate because this is an opportunity for you to connect with God, to hear from Him directly, and to align yourself to His will. So give yourself proper time for each step. And once you've got your roles and some goals for each role, here's where the rubber meets the road. Again, get back on your knees in prayer and ask God, how can I practically accomplish these goals? You may have ideas, plans, strategies to get things done, but there's something truly special about getting our plans from Him. His ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. He has tactics that we could never even conceive of if we would only allow ourselves the time to listen. Let me give you an example. After multiple devastating traumas hit our family, it was clear that in my role as daddy-o, I was to restore trust with my kiddos. I had my own ideas as to how to do that, but as I prayed, God gave me clear directions. Be present at your kids' practices and events. At the time, my daughters were involved in gymnastics and ballet. I would drive them to practices, and often I would hang around off to the side and get some work done while they practiced. This particular year, the Lord gave me the practical step of being present, which meant keep the phone in your pocket, the laptop in its case, and the iPad in your bag. Don't be distracted by the devices, but watch your kids practice and actively engage in their activities. Make eye contact with them. Laugh with them when they miss it and feel embarrassed, and cheer them on every step of the way. It may seem like such a small, simple thing, but I cannot explain how essential this was to reconnecting with my daughters after a really rough year. God knew more than I ever could what my kids needed from me. I simply needed to do it His way. Now, there's really not a number that I can put on how many practical steps you should have for each goal. That's going to be highly subjective. Just make sure there are sufficient practical steps to achieve each goal. These practical steps, again, should be SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely goals that you can check off as they are accomplished. And if you've been listening these past couple of weeks, you'll probably know what the last step is, and that's refine it. Look over these goals again and refine the language. Make it simple, make it concise, make it memorable so that it's something that you can hang on to and run with for the rest of the year. So let's recap. You're going to, 1, pray and create a brainstorm of all the roles you fill. 2, pray and whittle that list down to roughly 5 roles. 3rd, pray and prioritize those roles in order from most important to least important. 4, pray and list out a few goals for each role. 5, pray and come up with practical steps to achieve each goal. And 6, pray and refine the language so that it's something that you can memorize. This can become your compass for the next year. I like to keep my roles and goals in front of me. Sometimes they're handy on my phone. Sometimes I'll make a graphic that I can point back to. I'll often change my passwords each year to reflect my roles and goals, so every time I need to type in a password, I'm reminded of what I'm called to be doing. Do whatever it takes to keep these roles and goals before you, to keep your eye on the prize, and to accomplish everything that the Lord sets before you. Now, this may seem more personal than practical in terms of your business, ministry, or nonprofit idea, but it all starts with you as a leader. And so, if you can get these roles and goals refined and receive clear and concise direction from the Lord for your own personal life, it will flow down into your business, nonprofit, or ministry.